This is Mike Coffin, Vice President of the Ataxia Brotherhood, and your Wrestle Fandom Radio Champion, and you are watching Wrestle Fandom Radio.
No, that's muted. Can you hear us now?
All right, I'll hang up.
All right.
Just look for my text.
All right. All right, so we're gonna
rewind.
I guess go to bus four and board unmute me. Yeah, we did that. Let's see if it works now. No volume. That was Z texting also. I'm gonna go look on the YouTube. Garrett says good exclamation mark. So I'm guessing that means you can hear us now. Let's see. Garrett says good exclamation mark.
All right.
All right. So, all right. Let's try this. Let's try this again, guys. All right. God, I feel like a stew nod. We're gonna do a quick redoing. Hey, it's showtime! It's WrestleFandom Radio. Woo! If you want tattoos, go to Rocky Horse Tattoos.
Wait. The guy's name is Josh.
His name is See? Good thing we were muted, right? If you need anything printed, screen printed, vinyl, Fred Merritt does great work. Go see him.
Seasonal Sports.
Seasonal Sports, yes. Yep. And I went on a whole nice spiel about how I've worked 1,000,000 hours and Freeman Formula, the upgrade, it lifted the veil of my mind. Mm-hmm. Apparently, it didn't lift the veil of my vocal cords. But I think they're working on a formula for that. Go to freedomformula.com. You get 15% off if you use the code DISRUPTION, like the network that we're on right now. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. So, Todd.
Joe.
So much has happened in the wrestling world. And they need I'm going to have Z just, print out
instructions.
And just, put it on the wall over here. Because I feel, and it's never the same issue.
Nope.
Last time it was just you and me, it was,
we couldn't hear each other, but we had the mics going. Yeah.
This week, it was
Yeah. It's okay. We'll get it eventually.
You know,
this is why they don't leave us alone.
I want to be left alone, though. I hate people. Oh, look. Oh, yeah. That's what needs. Oh, people are commenting. Oh, it mostly was Carrot and Z telling us they can't hear us. Thanks.
You
guys.
fools.
You suck. All right. All right. So, I've actually been watching way more than have been. A lot of times it would be updates. I would watch pretty much just AEW. I really wasn't feeling WWE except for we'd watch well, they're not even pay-per-views anymore. They're, what are they?
Premium live events.
Premium live events. But ever since we've had, I guess we'll call it changing of the guard.
Mm-hmm. AV.
Yes. After Vince. I came up with a way to do this timeline. We have, DV is during
Vince, and then AV is after Vince.
And two of the biggest things that I think are awesome is Shawn Michaels was promoted to head of talent relations.
Yep.
And replacing the Mr. Laurinaitis. Mm-hmm. And they just brought back the Road Dogg into the writers' room. So, what's going to happen next? Is, X-Pac going to be the head ring announcer? I feel like
DX is just going to take over like they tried to do 20 years ago.
They went from the degenerates to now they're running shit, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Watching the product. So, my oldest had football practice on Monday. We get home 10 minutes before 8 o'clock, put Raw on, and to watch Raw start out with another brawl.
Yep.
And do you know what I loved about it? That's just what happened, and they really didn't touch anything else. They didn't need to do any more.
No,
with it.
and it just kind of disappeared.
They're fighting each other, and then in a week they're going to be fighting each other at the pay-per-view, and that. It is what it is. You don't need more for that, and it was awesome. And I'm digging the booking.
Oh yeah, no, there's a lot of.
I'm digging the way everybody's being portrayed. It's great.
It is still having, and it's going to be a little bit because obviously, like I said, with a storyline, you can't just be like, you know what, get rid of all this and whatever. But it's up and downs. I have to say, personally, last week's SmackDown I thought was just terrible.
Right.
Ronda Rousey getting arrested. That's just so friggin' old with that whole, any of that, just people getting arrested. You know what? When Stone Cold got arrested back, oh man, that was huge because of whatever. And then it just started being like everybody.
I think it would have been fine if they hadn't just done it on Raw.
Yeah.
With, was it Dexter Lumis?
Yep.
Like,
Yeah.
Which, dude, like, so I'm watching it with the kids, and my kids are like, look at his eyes.
Yeah.
Like, he's crazy. I'm like, that's what they're trying to do. Like, I think it's going to be a little bit for both shows to get up, but Raw has been great,
leaps and bounds over SmackDown. Because the other thing that I it was one of those things where I really hate this whole male model thing. It's just terrible.
I have a feeling it'll be gone soon.
So when Hit Row came out and like took them out, I'm like, oh, that's awesome. And then they started to rap. And I was like, oh, okay, this is just terrible now. Like, this is even worse than the male model thing. And it even got to a point where my girlfriend literally was just like, is this going to stop anytime? Because, it's not, it's just, are you trying to somehow Max Caster it in a way? Are you trying to? I know he does more of the freestyle and more of the insult, but it's like you don't need that.
It's been a gimmick that's been around for years.
Yeah.
Like we had even pre-Cena, you had Too Sexy and Scotty Too Hotty.
Yeah.
They would do it's something that's been done. It's not necessarily a gimmick that needs to be utilized.
Pursued.
You know what I mean? It doesn't necessarily need to be utilized because it's either hit or miss. If it's done correctly, I thought it was real funny when the New Day and the Usos were having their little, because it made sense. They're more established.
Yeah.
They get a little bit more leeway with their gimmicks because they've done so many different things.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, the New Day came out in a refrigerator box and called it a time machine, and it worked.
Yeah, it brought Kofi back to his accent, to his
roots.
Because they have, people look at them, and when they do something like that, they're like, oh, you know what, that's the New Day. Right. It's funny, it's whatever. Hit Row, it's like, okay, first of all, you've been back for a week or two, and if but you're also Caster, the dude freestyles that, I mean, it's all whatever, that was if I was there at wrestling, I'd be like, I didn't come to a concert, I came to watch wrestling.
Right.
And it just, obviously, no, I'm not, a music critic or whatever, but man, it was just.
I mean, you kind of are a music critic, Todd.
Well, kind of.
Your job is literally to play the masses good music.
Yeah.
Not necessarily from this generation, but
I was gonna say it's easy with the classic rock.
Yeah.
But it was just I don't know. It was very off-putting. It was I'm not, like I said, I was excited. I'm like, oh, these are going to be the people to get rid of this stupid male model thing, and then it was
foil, and now you get two horrible gimmicks.
It's
I think
they're good wrestlers.
I've seen a lot of negative response over that whole segment, so I think they might drop the whole rapper thing.
Yeah,
but
which just let them wrestle. Let them whatever. If they want to, while they're talking, be able to do rhymes while they speak, what, that's cool, something like that. Make that kind of their gimmick. They talk in rhyme, or one of them does, whatever. But no, like you were saying, man, Raw has definitely been the more predominant, better, well thought out show.
They embraced their Canadian lineage this week.
Yes, they did very well.
First, we exited the stratosphere and saw the return of, I want to say, the queen of divas, the queen of women, Trish Stratus.
Yep.
So another thing that I loved about Todd coming onto the show is me and Garrett would kind of if one of us was watching, kind of update the other because depending on work schedules and everything. But now we have Todd who's always watching. Mm-hmm. So if there's one of us watching, one's watching. If the other one's watching, the other one's watching. So there's always a discussion on it. And I don't understand how it's possible that Trish is more beautiful now than she was in her quote-unquote prime.
Do you know, and not that this makes a difference really, but do you know how old she is by any chance?
She's...
Or do you want to take guesses before we look it up? Trying to think back, so what? The Attitude Era was, 20 plus years ago?
So she... Late 90s, she was there, so that was...
So she had to have been probably in her early 20s?
So she's got to be, I'd say...
Pushing 50?
51? Let's see. Anybody in the background here want to guess how old Trish Stratus is? You got 145. What do you say, kid? Blake says 50. Logan says 45. Todd, what's your guess before I look? I'm going to say 51.
You said 51. I'm going to say... I'm going to have to say, I'll say 53.
Well, the winner would be Logan because she's 46.
What? Now I feel terrible.
So Trish Stratus...
She must have been really, she was, late teens then when she had started?
There's no way. But I can find the timer. So...
Because it's 2022, so 2000 would have been 22 years ago, and then...
It says 2000 was when she started.
Really?
For some reason, I remember her earlier than that.
Yeah. We'll have to do some research on that one.
She made her debut on the March 19th episode in 2000 on Sunday Night Heat. As a heel, she appeared on stage to scout Test and Prince Albert. So, yeah. Yep, Garrett's saying 47. Yeah, Garrett, she's only 47 years old. So she's the same age as Garrett. I guess that makes sense. She's actually probably, from her birthday, I think she's a month younger than Garrett. So Trish is 40. And, I loved, she came back. And do you know what cracks me up is her Canadian accent is far more prominent now than it was back in the day.
Yeah, because even my girlfriend, she's like, she's Canadian? I'm like, I think so. And then she's like, blah, 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 a boot. And I'm like, yep.
Well, even if you look at her logo's got the maple leaf.
Oh, yeah, yep.
And Garrett goes, I was so close. She's 46, Garrett. You're older than her. So the line I loved from this was, so Bailey, Dakota Kai, and Io Sky come out and... Oh, there's three of us. There's one of you. And I actually didn't mind Bianca Belair this week.
Yeah, no, that was...
because she was just giving all the love for Trish. And Trish's line where it's I may be retired. How exactly did she say it?
Something about
Garrett, there's children around. Please use proper language. Insult me. He said something not appropriate.
Yeah, I can't remember. Something about, being retired, but not, doesn't mean I won't come out of retirement.
Right, hang on. Trish Stratus quote.
We're so prepared.
I'm never really prepared. It's usually Garrett's. I'm the talent.
I'm just the talent. Somebody else writes this for me.
Yeah, all my lines. We have a writer's room back there. They're real young and hip, so they know what's going on. All right, let's see what it was. Yeah, whatever. I'm not wasting more time on that. But it was amazing.
Yeah.
And she takes off her coat. She goes, I am retired, but I don't have to be retired. Something along those lines. And Bailey's like, And then, who else came out?
Alexa and Asuka.
And Asuka came out. So then it was 4-on-3, and Bailey and her little squad decided to exit very, very quickly. And I loved it. Because Trish needed, they can't see the words. On Facebook they can. Garrett's.
And it was almost weird. I don't. Was it supposed to go to commercial between that and then the match? Because it seemed very, just not awkward, just very kind of all over the place at a certain point in time.
Went longer than they were supposed to. and that kind of caused it. And I've noticed that for years. Sometimes when people go too short or go too long, commercial things don't line up.
Yeah.
This match was great. This was a very, very good match. I was upset that Alexa and Asuka lost, but they didn't lose clean, so
No.
I was okay with it.
But so here's my pet peeve, and this is just with all wrestling companies. You bring somebody in or back, and you immediately start giving them stuff.
The quote, Garrett said the quote was, I can very quickly go from I am retired to I was retired.
Thank you,
Thank you, Garrett, for actually contributing something positive.
But yeah, even, with in AEW, to me, Punk won that title way too soon. It's one of those things where it's just just because they were or people were looking forward to doesn't mean that they should just right to the front of the line, bringing CM Punk back into wrestling, fantastic.
Right.
Giving him a title within the first 6 months of him being back. I love Punk, but it's not that he doesn't deserve it, but you can't. To me, that's almost showing favoritism.
Well, that's kind of what I like with this. They're not sending it. It seems like they're setting up with Trish versus Bayley, and there's no title involved in
Right.
which is a grudge match. And because I don't see Trish staying along for super long, but I like the fact that they're not doing what they did with Goldberg, like what you're saying. Immediately put him in a title contention, have him win a title, whatever. Trish is there to. It seems to just wrestle. Bayley and
and that's cool. Do it.
I'm completely down with that.
But I felt like Alexa and Asuka should have won that.
Right, but I think they're giving Dakota Kai and Io Sky more of a push. And you could tell that Triple H is either bringing back or bringing up a lot of his NXT people to kind of liven up. But I like the fact that he's also, with Trish, bringing back some veterans. It kind of reminds me of what AEW did in the beginning, where you have the OGs, and then you have the new talent and kind of mingling them together.
Yeah.
Because another big return that we had was Johnny Wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
And to immediately pit him against, I'm drawing a blank, Mrs. Blank.
Oh,
yeah, Theory.
Yeah, Theory.
Yes.
Yeah.
Somebody who they've had history, and to continue that history on the next level, which really, to me, reminds me of what they did with KO and Sammy back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
Which worked. If you look at what NXT wrestlers are actually still relevant and on the main roster, there's not many. You have KO, you have Sammy, you have Rollins, Roman Reigns. You have these guys, not many of them went to the main roster and stayed. And part of the reason I feel like KO and Sammy stayed, because KO had that great run in the beginning with Cena.
Oh, yeah.
But then immediately they had Sammy and KO do their thing, which was just a continuation of what happened. And Johnny Gargano is...
no one was expecting that. I didn't see anything online about that. Usually...
I've heard rumors for weeks now that they're talking about bringing him up. And I know he had taken time off when he had his kid.
Yeah.
But to bring him up to the main roster, he's one of those guys. He's a once-in-a-lifetime talent.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
And he's not your stereotypical wrestler, but he's a hell of a worker. And does go back and watch any of those NXT takeovers that he was on, and he crushes it. And I think he's going to have a hell of a run at the main roster. And I like how they set it up with theories you had these dreams to do all these things. I've already done all of it.
Yeah.
I'm one briefcase away from being the WWE champion, which makes me think that Theory's not going to win. I think he's going to be one of the cash-ins that don't.
And you know what? He's grown on me a little bit more as a person. I like him.
I like the fact you get rid of the selfie shit.
Yeah. Yes, that was getting old. His character, it's still a little grindy, but they're changing that. He's not as arrogant. He's not as, whatever. He still has a little bit, but again, the selfie thing, You get rid of that. That was a huge thing. It was just stupid.
He's starting to remind me of just turned on the Shield Rollins.
Yeah.
Without the backing of the corporation. Like, he's kind of like got that air to it, which I'm liking. Like, that's a good heel.
Yeah.
Good heel way to go.
But it is nice, too, because they do have to, and I know there have been, people that have cashed in and lost it, but, it's what, like 80% or more that have won it. So it is nice to see that once in a while because, you got to take away the predictability.
Well, and that's what I was just about to say. I feel like we need to have a few more guys lose it. Because, I would like it to be like 60-40. Like, you don't know if they're going to cash in and win.
Or cash it in for a different title.
Right.
Really kind of throw something in, be like, oh, they just, there's a huge Intercontinental Championship, whatever, and this person wins, and they cashed it in for that. You know what I mean? Something that's not just the heavyweight.
I would love to see the IC title come back in a big way like that. You know what I mean? And so another thing they announced this week, too, is I think they're going to, they're kind of rebranding NXT Europe, or UK as NXT Europe. I believe that's how that's going.
I know that the UK champion was on NXT last night.
Right.
I saw clips with the NXT champion, and he did refer to it as NXT UK. It would sound a little bit better if it was like NXT Europe, because then if you can bring more people in.
Well, they're doing NXT Europe. I just don't know if it's going to be a separate brand from NXT UK, or if it's going to
just be one thing.
Which I think it should be one thing. But to me, you bring back the European Championship, and there's so much potential here for so much, and I don't want to get my hopes up because I have been enjoying everything, and I'm curious because we're having that pay-per-view not this Saturday but the following Saturday in Wales, and I have high hopes for where they're going with a lot of this. And so news came out, I think it was today or yesterday, about this year's draft.
Oh, really? I didn't see anything about that. I wish they'd kind of stop doing that.
Well, so here it is. Despite Raw and SmackDown superstars appearing on the opposite brands more often as of late, the brand split still exists, and the draft is still scheduled to take place. At first, it was believed that the draft, which usually takes place in October, would take place a little earlier this year, likely in September after the Clash at the Castle. But it looks like this isn't the case anymore. Several Raw stars that were booked to appear on SmackDown after Clash at the Castle have now been unbooked for that show. USA Network sources have told Talent that the draft isn't happening in the immediate future and have outright stated that after WrestleMania is likelier a landing spot. So we might not even get another draft until after Mania this year.
It needs to stop. Just let people do what they've been doing. The crossover's been nice. People showing up to, but the whole brand split was stupid. You've already, quote unquote, unified all the titles basically that were on each. Because that's the other thing, too, that I'm a little confused on with the match in NXT. It's a, title for title match. Right. So now, again, are you going, is one person going to have both titles, which is weird because it's not obviously the two titles that Roman have are the two titles in the United States. Correct. The tag team's the same way. So is one person's going to have both the UK title and whatever. Are you going to then run them ragged by having them compete in America, having them compete in the UK? That's where you're going to start to burn people out and confuse people, especially with now I'm the UK champion and I'm the NXT. It's
I don't think you've met him yet, but a friend of the show, my best friend, Captain Matt Samuels, something me and him have talked about for a very long time was the brand split could work because if you have a lot of talent and being able to just showcase one set of talent on one show and one set of talent on the other show, that makes sense because you have such an abundance of talent. What doesn't make sense is having champions on both brands.
Right.
So with Roman having both titles right now, it should be one title.
Yes.
And Roman should, because he's the champ, and yes, I know it can burn you out, but taking that more money being the champ, that more exposure being the champ, going back and forth between both shows. That should be kind of like, well, if you want to be champ, this is what you're going to have to do, kind of do thing. And that's how it should be. Like, I like the fact that the women's tag team titles, there's only going to be one set.
Yes.
Like, I think...
And that's what it should be with all of them.
That's 100% should be. And that's the way the brand split can work. You have, like, they do, like, you have the U.S. title on one show, and you have the other title on the other show. That works. So you have that mid-card, and guess what? After so-and-so has a little bit of a run, and he's going over, all right, we want to put him in the main card event. All right, Roman Reigns is showing up on SmackDown. Boom, boom, boom. Let's see where we go from there. And then after, well, guess what? Now this guy's the champ. Roman, you lost to a guy in SmackDown. Guess what your new home is? You know what I mean? And do the draft to mix things up. You don't need to do a draft every year. I kind of like the fact that we might be going 2 years without a draft. Like that. To me, that'll be great. Another bit of news that I read yesterday, which I found very, very interesting, was Chris Jericho kind of hinted that the WWE was interested in bringing him back. And
really?
So, a fan tweeted the following about current AEW superstar Chris Jericho. If Chris Jericho is back in WWE, I want him to wrestle against AJ Styles or Kevin Owens. These two matches will be fire. Jericho replied, they already happened multiple times. Another fan then tweeted, need a Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, and Chris Jericho faction. Make it happen, Y2J. Jericho then replied, well, some higher-ups want that to happen sooner than later. Hashtag tampering. By using the hashtag tampering in his tweet, Jericho is referring to last week's report from Fightful Select, which stated that WWE officials recently reached out to a top AEW star about possibly returning to the WWE. While the report didn't mention who the wrestler was, this wrestler is said to be happy with his current role at AEW and decided to inform AEW management about WWE contacting him. Because of the above tweet, it looks like the WWE reached out to Jericho for a return when his AEW contract expires. His contract is set to expire in January 2024.
And, but people like, Jericho, now don't get me wrong, he's Chris Jericho. I mean, that's all you really have to say about that man. It sums up his life, his career, and everything. But it is getting to a point now where it's like, how much longer can you do it? How much longer before you turn into the Goldberg where you only have 2 or 3 moves and, whatever? You would be a huge asset on, commentary because you have a different perspective.
Or, where William Regal's role.
Something like that. But he, it's to the point where it's just like, you have a lot that goes on in life. You still have a band. You still have whatever. It's like, obviously the WWE, when it comes to their schedule, is completely different than AEW. To me, that talent has so much more freedom because they do everything in one night, unless they have a pay-per-view or something special going on. But they get it all done in one night. Then they have 5-6 days to go home, be with their family, decompress, heal, get better. WWE, you're on the road 200 and some odd days of the year. You don't have that time. And Jericho's already done that. It's like, would you want to go back to that? Would you want to go back to that same type of whatever and just run yourself so ragged? You've been doing it for so long.
I know that they've changed the way the schedule is with WWE, and that's part of the reason why they won the shows on Monday and Friday.
Right.
Because you have that more downtime during the week, and they're only essentially each show is only doing one house show a week, and it's usually the day before. They do the Sunday Stunners for the Raw people, and then whatever they do on Saturdays for the SmackDown people. So essentially, you're working 2 days a week, and you're having the rest of the week. You're not traveling all the time. And I know, during the pandemic, a lot of the wrestlers, they liked that aspect of it. They all, because most of them live down in the Tampa area anyways. So, they're I have to drive to work 1 day a week, do my show, and then I have the other 6 days to do whatever.
Yeah.
And the big drawback was no fans, but it is definitely a grueling profession. But also, they say, they know what they were getting into when they got into, and most of them are very, very well monetarily compensated for it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
a lot of them are left with something when their time is done with either AEW, WWE. They're left with something to go on and make money with their persona, whatever. Like, and it's a very, very beautiful thing, but it is definitely a grueling thing. Like, and I feel like they take far better care of the performers now than they did, like, say, in the 90s.
Oh yeah. Oh
Like,
yeah.
you don't have the issues that you had, like, with your, like, Jake the Snakes and everything else. Like, you have, like, they've come a long way with not taking advantage of their performers like they did before. They're not just shooting them up with pills or whatever. It's just, all right, oh, your neck's broke, go out there for 2 more years and wrestle.
Yeah.
You know, like, you're not having that. Another report that I read was that everybody backstage is just floored, and the atmosphere backstage is so much different.
Oh well, yeah.
In this era, and I hope it's not just a honeymoon phase. I really hope that this is how
It kind of
Triple
stays.
H decides to captain his ship, because one, I always thought it's better to have, like, the business part and the creative part separate.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Like, it definitely bugged me that Vince had so much control over all aspects, because I felt like that really, really hindered everything. And I'm happy. I'm not fully over happy with the product, but I'm happy where it appears the product is headed.
Yes, he's definitely changed course with it, and you can see it, and you can see it from day one, which was nice. It wasn't like, well, he's in charge. It's been 3 months, and it's the same crap. You know, you've seen it from, day one where he, started doing stuff and bringing back people that he knew were, I don't want to say wrongfully terminated, like in a bad way, but he knew that a lot of these guys and girls that got let go were good talent, were people that, worked their butts off, that really put a lot into it. Right. And he saw that. And unfortunately, at that point in time, I can only imagine that when a lot of those people were let go throughout the years, how much he was sitting there like, I can't, but why would he, but now he has that opportunity to be like, okay, listen, I'm, sorry that happened, but I know you have the ability, the skill, the talent. I'm bringing you back because,
that faith in you.
Yeah, because I know, and he's not, I trust, his judgment on stuff like that because of who he is, what he's seen, what he's been through, what he's done. Right. He went, like we were saying earlier, he went from being a degenerate, to people that if me and you went back in time and told our younger selves, hey, those guys are going to be running the company in 30 years, our younger selves would have been like, okay, sure, but now we're sitting here like, holy crap, 3/4 roughly of DX, 3/4 that could still be with the company, because one will never be. But 3/4 of DX is running the WWE now.
Well, and if you think about it too, like, it's just and this is one of why Triple H has gone on my Mount Rushmore. Like he almost fell into wrestling by accident. And people forget that when Hall and Nash left, Shawn Michaels didn't get in trouble for all that at MSG. Like, Triple H was basically blacklisted for 2 years. He was essentially turned into a high-profile jobber. And he took all of that, and now he truly is the King of Kings. Like, he's sitting on that throne, and he's, love him or hate him, he's arguably done more for that company in the time he's been in it than anybody else.
Oh, absolutely.
In so many iterations behind the scenes, like bringing people back. And I truly hope it's only a matter of time before we see Bray come back.
It needs to happen. You can't,
I'd love to see Bray and Braun come back together.
That would be crazy. From what I've read a lot in the past, Braun, I think, is like, I want to do what I want to do. I want it on not my terms, but hey, you know what? If an independent whatever gets a hold of me, I'm going to go do that. Not that he would be against AEW, WWE, but it just seems like he's having more of a fun, more of a whatever, just doing his own thing and just being out there. Now, yeah, I would love to see both of them come back because that would be
Triple
insane.
H makes the phone call about, hey, $2 million a year. You're gonna be partnered with Bray.
Yeah. All he would really have to say is,
I'll see you Monday.
You heard Vince is gone, right? And that's pretty much the conversation.
and sadly, that's what I've heard the conversation across the board.
Oh, yeah.
I heard Sasha and Naomi are coming back. Like, it's like happening within the next week or two.
But they need to, you know what, in that situation, they need, I understand what they did and why they did it. But in a situation like that, you can't push them right away. Put them back at the bottom. Let them work their way back up again. Because, you know what,
I see that perspective, but I also see the fact that they are draws. And
right.
They represent a segment of fans that right now, besides with Bianca, aren't being represented fully across the board. So I don't say necessarily give them a pass because, actually yesterday, for the first time since everything's happened, Sasha posted her first WWE-related any kind of content, and it was a photo of her and Bayley hugging in the ring. So it's imminent, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the word?
Yeah, inevitable, imminent, yeah.
Yeah, and it just it's gonna happen, and I'm not saying to put them in a championship picture immediately, but they're not going to be set at the mid card or they're going to be, and they were a great tag and everything else.
But they kind of gotta earn it back a little bit. Oh, I mean, you just kind of you just kind of bounced. I get it. I to a degree understand why, but you did just kind of pieced out, and kind of left, a lot of fans very, distraught, annoyed, pissed off, that they were just like, hey, see you later, and which is nice that it is. But this is the other thing too, is they're trying to, kind of push different talent, being people up from NXT, this and that. And I also feel like if not to never bring them back, you bring them back and all of a sudden you're kind of going to overshadow those people you're trying to get back up there, which was actually a question I was going to inquire with you. Do you feel that the next NXT pay-per-view that Mandy Rose is going to drop that title and be brought back up?
Yes.
Because obviously if that Toxic Attraction, is that what their name was? I know the one chick got hurt or whatever. Yeah. But if they brought them up and she's the leader or the whatever of that group, kind of, the whatever you want to call it, it seems like she'll be dropping that title soon and be...
Well, when Mandy was way over when she was on the main roster, mm-hmm. What they wanted was to essentially hone her wrestling ability because she wasn't she was a fitness model or whatever, and her in the last year her wrestling ability has gone through the roof.
And that's cool. If that's what she needed, rock on. That's awesome.
Remember, they did that with Big Show back in the day.
Big Show. Well, even Ziggler was down, in NXT for a bit,
They've done it with people even before NXT when it was FCW and everything else. They've done it for years because you have somebody who's over, but they want them to be a better performer, be a safer performer. Mandy Rose, her return is going to happen soon, and I would not be surprised if she's pushed right into the title picture too, because in my opinion, she deserves it.
And that's a different type of. If that happened,
give me Bianca versus Mandy Rose. Yeah. I think that would be fantastic.
Another question, opinion. Edge, Beth, Priest, Rhea.
So I think that might be something that happens. And before we go to this last segment that I want to try out today, the Edge and Priest match on Monday, like, that was a pay-per-view quality match.
Oh, absolutely.
And I love the fact that we're getting things like that.
Yeah.
Like, that match was absolutely amazing. And to end it with Beth in the ring with a chair, and you got Rhea Priest like, whoa. Like, I think that's what sets that up.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't know if it's because they want Beth in, and let's be honest, I don't know if Beth could do a full 15 match and be safe and make it look good.
No, I don't think she could.
But that story is fantastic. But my question is, do you make it a triple threat? Because you got Finn in there too. Who would be the third person to back up Edge and Beth Phoenix?
Yeah. I mean, if they're going to go with it, obviously it's going to be Mysterio, which honestly I don't really want to see that. I would like to see something different, something just...
I don't know who I would put in that role. Like, I feel like you would need, like, obviously if Christian was in WWE, I'd say Christian.
Right.
But when's Orton returning? I would love to see that.
I don't even know the extent. I know he had like back issues, but I don't know if it was surgery back issues, just you need a bunch of time off, healing back issues. You know, no one...
I mean, when you've been RKOing people for 30 years, your back is probably not feeling fantastic.
Yeah. No, not at all.
But yeah, I think whether it would have to be sooner than later, and maybe at Rumble you have that, but I feel like that even that's too far out.
You need to put Riddle and Orton back together. They were a great... I enjoyed them because they brought stuff out in each other that was fantastic.
100%, but I'm enjoying this more intense Riddle.
I like Riddle. Yeah, oh yeah.
Going with Rollins.
But Orton is intense too. So then you bring an intense Orton and Riddle. Then you have like a whole nother level of
arcade bro
intensity. And real quick, just to touch on AEW.
Yes.
Punk's promo, the Moxley, that
we were talking about it as we were watching.
Yeah, that was a barn burner. Like, dude, that.
Like,
because the rumor is the whole coward shit was not planned.
No
one knew about it, and I don't know. I don't want to say people were unhappy about it, but I don't think there was a ton of people that were thrilled that he just kind of.
So from what I read, that Punk isn't exactly happy with what's at his place, which it's Punk. He's kind of a diva. And we know how Mox has always kind of been a street shooter.
Yes.
And, like, Punk gave a great promo and
everything.
But I love the fact that Mox calls him out. And even though, like, Mox didn't really return a promo on the caliber, Mox didn't need to.
No.
Because essentially his actions, like, I don't know if all of that was scripted. Like, that, like...
It seemed...
They kept on going after each other a little bit more than...
Well, even, like, when they were doing the promo, like, Moxley... There's a couple of things, it's like... He seemed pissed. He, when he threw something out there about the money thing, the only reason he came back, and that seemed not scripted. That seemed very, like, off the cuff-ish, kind of, But, I mean, Punk went through and just... But, the funny part was, every time, he's like, tell me I'm lying. And, I mean, you had to sit there and say, you're not really. Like, but yeah, like the, whatever, it seems, you're the whatever third person in every group you've been. I mean, just the subtle shots in references to WWE and, like you're the third best Eddie I've been in the whatever with, the second best Kingston I've been, I mean, it was just Punk. I mean, it was just a perfect promo. You know, I mean, and it was one of those things where everything he said, you were like,
Yeah. So, what I want to do today is I'm going to bring on a younger fan, and I want to ask them 3 questions, and then we'll be done with the show. Because I'm curious to see the perspective from the youth. So, introducing on the first official capacity, because he's been on the shows a couple different times, LJ Stones.
Hello.
LJ Stones.
All right. So, LJ.
Yes.
Who is your current favorite wrestler?
I mean, I like Rollins.
Okay. Now, look at the camera when your camera's up there. Now, why do you like Rollins? That'll be my second question.
Well, see, I liked him more when he was like that WrestleMania cash-in when he had.
You
that
like Burn It Down Rollins?
Yeah.
You don't like crazy, weird
Weirdo
Rollins.
supervillain?
I didn't like when he was the Monday Night Messiah.
That's what he kind of is now too.
But like, does he have his like people now or?
No, he doesn't have his acolytes.
I like when he's alone. I don't like when he has his backup and he's this.
You like it when he's like an anti-hero.
Kind
Not a heel, but not a face. Yeah.
He's like in the middle. Yeah.
Now, my last question for you, because I know you've been subjected to a lot of old wrestling material.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
Who is your favorite old school wrestler?
I mean, do I only have to choose one?
If you could go back in time, pull a wrestler into WWE today to wrestle in their prime, who would you want to see wrestle?
I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of choice. I mean,
Just pick one. Clock's ticking, kid.
The Rock, I guess.
Well, The Rock still wrestles occasionally. Yeah. Talking about somebody who's probably not going to wrestle anymore.
Stone Cold, Shawn Michaels. I don't know. Those
are.
I'd like to see Shawn Michaels and Stone Cold wrestle each other again. To be honest with you,
yeah.
That would be.
I'd like to see some stunners, you know, but not from KO.
KO has gotten better with his stunners and has perfected them a lot more. I mean, no one will ever do it like Steve did, for sure. But KO has gotten to that point where 100%. He does have it under his belt a lot better.
100%.
I mean, on Raw when he stunned Otis sold it pretty well.
Now, Logan, I got one more question for you. If you were old enough to go get a tattoo right now, where would you go to get a tattoo?
Rockin' Horse Tattoo.
And who would you go see there?
Josh.
Oh. And if you see, he knows Josh.
I don't know what you're talking about. I said his name earlier. Come on.
And if you were going to get T-shirts or a vinyl banner or any of that done, where would you go to do it?
Seasonal Sports.
And who would you go see there?
Forgot his name.
Fred. You'd go
Fred,
see
yes,
Fred.
I got it.
And if your mind was feeling foggy, what would you use?
I think I'd use the Freeman formula.
And what would you use?
Upgrade.
Upgrade. And if you had money and a job, what website would you go to order? FreemanFormula.com.
Yeah, FreemanFormula.com, that place.
And what code would you use to get 15% off?
Disruption.
My man. Mm-hmm. So
grooming them early.
We'll be back next week.
All of us?
It depends on my work schedule.
Oh, yeah.
If I get mandated, I have no choice but to stay at work.
I'm telling you. I'm going to just kidnap you.
Trust me, you wouldn't be the first time I've been kidnapped.
Yeah, I know.
I'm probably not going to be on for another year.
We'll get you on when we get you on.
Okay.
Never know.
All right, so this is Joseph Stones.
LJ Stones.
I'm Todd. Join me for Todd Time. This Friday is going to be a special Todd Time. Because it'll be my birthday.
Oh.
And I'll be 40. So I'm going to... It's going to be the normal Friday night jam like it always is, but there's going to be more Todd tunes in there.
Ooh,
stuff I kind of want to hear since it is my birthday.
Tunes. Todd Tune Time.
Todd Tune Time. But of course it's on every night.
And where would we go to listen to you?
92.7 The Drive, of course.
And if they're not local...
You can stream it from 927thedrive.net, our Facebook page, or the free TuneIn app.
Perfect. All right. Take it easy, guys.
Have a good one. See you
Peace.
next week.